What's up? This is another video. Um, Talking about the Jews more. Not because I'm racist. Well, they're not even a race. Um, Not because like I'm being. It's not even anti-Semitic either. I'm just learning new things, man. Things that I didn't know, bro. And it's like I already had my paradigm shift a while ago, so like reading these things is like, oh wow, it doesn't really break my mind like it might potentially break other people's minds. Learning crazy new info. And so let's get started and talk and basically do a video like last time. Right? So what is the topic? The topic of today is Judaism. Okay, we're gonna go over Judaism briefly. And is this where am I? Where is this at? Oh my god. Why is that so far? I don't know why it's doing that. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay. I actually went and ate a burrito. So I hope this isn't a long video. Okay. Judaism. Okay. So, in the last video we talked about Hitler and stuff like that. But I don't think that I'm gonna mention. I don't know what I'll mention. Okay, so Judaism. Okay, so who does Judaism? Is the religion of the Jews. Okay? And then I was like, the word Jew, where does Jew come from? How? Because I was just curious of how that word was originated and why these people are called that. And what I found is that there were 12, 13 tribes, and the only tribe that remained was the tribe of Judah. Jews were part of the tribe of Judah, and then they started calling themselves Jews because of the tribe, and then Judaism came from the tribe of Judah. So that's where the name comes from. And God, I didn't even have my points set out. How did I get talking about this? I was curious about anti-Semitism. That's why. And understanding where Jewish people came from. I did like long time ago. I did like research history. I actually found out a lot more about Africa. And then as I started leaving Egypt, I kind of just like tapered out. But I learned a fuck ton about Africa. And so anti-Semitism, being anti-Semitic. Semitic is talking about like the people who were in the land of Canaan, which is now Israel, Palestine. That area. Semitic refers to the Hebrews, Arabs of the population, even Phoenicians that were around. But right, it's the Arab Hebrew. That's what Semitic. That's what it stands for. Being anti-Semitic means that you are being anti-Hebrew and Arab. That is anti-Semitism. You're anti-Hebrew. This is a lot of people. And you're anti-Arab. And so being anti-Semitic isn't for Jewish people. Jews speak Hebrew, but I don't think Jews say I'm Hebrew. Jews say I'm Jewish. I am a Jew. And so I'm like, okay, where does this word come? What power does the word Jew hold? Like, where did it come from? What is their originations? And hold on, I gotta continue. I guess I should have gone through because I kind of talk about it and then I get on and then I start talking about it. Okay. I don't remember what I was just previously saying, but and saying you are being anti-Semitic and they're shoving that down your throat. Anti-Semitism, the rise of anti-Semitism. You're being anti-Semitic. And they're and they're referring to the Jewish population. No, you are not being anti-Semitic. There is no to be mean and say bad things about a Jew. I don't know. Hold on, I gotta search this up because this is relevant, and I gotta see what my point is here. Okay, so I'm back. So basically, my question was: anti-Semitism stands for the for the Hebrew and Arab population. So when it's anti-Semitism, right, and Jews are Hebrew, but they label themselves Jews, right? They have their own little special name for themselves. Jewish it's not a race. There's no DNA that says Jewish. These people are Hebrew. Okay, these people are fucking desert wanderers. So being anti-Semitic is in no way referring to Jews. Because Jews don't consider themselves Hebrew. They consider themselves Jewish. It doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. But that's what they call themselves. This is the fucking stupid game that they play. The fucking back and forth shit. It's all a strategic business plan. All of it is strategic. There has been a plan in place for over 3,000 years to do the shit that's happening right now, today. Today is being affected from 3,000 years ago by the same group of people. It's not anti-Semitism because they're not Hebrew and they're not Arab. They're Jewish. Jewish is an identity. It is not a race. It is a culture. It is an identity that these people take on so that way they can be God's chosen people. What Israel is doing to the Palestinians is anti-Semitic. That is anti-Semitism. When the Jews, right, when you critique them and you want to say, when you disapprove of what they're doing, they'll say you're anti-Semitic. No, I'm not. If I wanted to be against you Jews, I would say I'm anti-Jew, not anti-Semitic, because Jews don't consider themselves Hebrews. They might switch it when oh my God, they don't like us. They're being anti-Semitic because, we speak Hebrew. Well, you don't consider yourselves Hebrew. You consider yourselves Jewish. Now, right, the same word Jew, coming over. What the fuck is a Jew? What the fuck does that mean? What the fuck are you talking about when you say a Jew? You say you're not Hebrew, you're not Arab, you're not European, you're a Jew, which comes from the tribe of Judah. It's a tribe identity. That's what they call themselves, just like the Knights Templar or the Freemasons. It's a name. It's not a race. It's not there's no fucking blood pool. There's no gene pool for a Jew. A Jew is the whole fucking culture that they intertwine with themselves. And something that I learned, and I didn't know this, Jews wanted to be separate from everybody else so much so, they created 613 laws to be different. Purely making it hard to be a Jew because only the most dedicated worshippers are allowed to be Jewish, because you have to follow the 613 laws. If you don't follow the 613 laws, you aren't Jewish. You follow these, you're Jewish. You're a follower of Judaism. Now here's what's interesting, right? Their whole thing about what makes somebody a Jew is this is what I was trying to figure out last night. What makes somebody a Jew? How do you become Jewish? And they say it's from the mother. The mother makes, if your mother was a Jew, then you are Jewish no matter what. This is the most retarded shit I've ever fucking heard. The Jews say they are God's chosen people. Right? God's chosen people. That God chose them to inherit the land. To inherit the Holy Land. Right? The most generic sentence possible. How are you going to be God's chosen people, but it's not in your genes, your blood pool? Your blood pool isn't one race. It's not a different. You're not genetically. You're not different. Right? What would make them different is interbreeding, and that's what they did. In order to, after they got cast out and they were wandering for 40 years trying to figure out what the fuck they were going to do, and people were fucking dying, in order to preserve the Jewish lineage, the tribe of Judah, what did they do? They had sex with the cousins. They got the cousins pregnant. Cousins got cousins pregnant and raised the kids. And then that kid potentially went on to have sex and babies with their cousin. Keeping it in the family, literally. Why are these Jewish people so powerful? Because literally for 3,000 years, they've been breeding with each other. Not all of them. Now but this was back then when they were doing the breeding. I don't know if the interbreeding is still happening now, but you see how some of them have that look and they all look copy and paste with the thin hair and the beard, and you're like, how do they fucking look like that? Why do they look like that? It's because they were fucking each other in the desert to survive. That's why. Jews were fucking each other in the desert 3,000 years ago to survive because everybody kicked them out. And they wanted to keep it in the family. Because, here's the thing, right? They couldn't, right? How are you God's chosen people if you allow your people to converge with the rest of the world? 13 tribes, 12 of them gone. Why? Because those tribes went into the world and they were just having sex naturally, making babies. So the gene pool gets sliced and sliced and sliced and sliced until they aren't even descendants of the tribe. That's why those tribes went missing and it was just the tribe of Judah. Why did Judah survive for so long? Because they were fucking literally keeping it in the fucking blood. They bred so much, they interbred so much that every single Jew in the fucking world can trace their blood back to the same group of Jews thousands of years ago. That is the power that they held, that they created for themselves. That they are from the same, the same descendants and shit like that. And now this idea, right? It was in the family, and then now it turned to, if your mother was Jewish, you're a Jew. Why? Because the Jewish women were getting raped, fucking up the gene pool. And so in order to cope with their little fantasy of needing to be the God's chosen people, Even though their gene pool was getting fucked, and it's not the same gene pool as it was in the tribe of Judah, they had to change the rules like they do so often and say, no, it's the mother. It's the mother, okay? You know, if your mother was Jewish, well, then now it starts getting a little fucked and piled on, okay? If your mother, if all it takes is to be a Jew is if your mother is a Jew. Your mother had sex with an African American. You were born black, but your mother was born as a white Jew. So now you're a black Jew. They still consider you Jew, but it has nothing to do with the demographic. It has nothing to do with like the blood more so, even now. It really mattered back then because there wasn't a lot of them. Now there's just so fucking many of them. And it is... What is my point? Where am I going? Fuck. Okay, look. These people... Oh, there we go. The mother, okay, right? The mother. They stopped caring about the father. It doesn't matter who your father was. Why doesn't it matter who the father was? Because the Jewish women were getting raped. That's why. So they had to make the little special exception to keep their little club going. And so, after many years, right, that gene pool gets chop. The point is, they can't have sex with the world. They can't, right? Because then they would lose their power. They changed it now. It has nothing to do with how you were born or anything like that. What it is now is the identity of being Jewish. I'm a Jew. It is an identity. It is not a race. It is not when it's not in your DNA that it says Jew, like you are, like, no, the DNA will say that you came from this specific group of Hebrews a long time ago, and then all of you guys descended from that. They were Hebrews. Jews are Hebrew descendants. They just call themselves a different name because I actually don't know. They just wanted to be different, bro. That's literally the whole fucking, like, it's really, they want to be different. They wanted control. They wanted power. And so, let me start getting into other things, because I know I'm just talking about interbreeding and stuff like that. And I know there's way more to this stuff. But it's gonna tie back into like Baphomet and fucking shit and fucking, hold on, I'm looking for this. Okay. Wow. Think about this. The Jewish lineage is a watered down wine. It's not pure anymore, but it's just red enough to convince you it is. I actually low-key fucked with that line a little bit. Hold on. Okay. God, I might have to hit a pause here so that way I can fucking regroup. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Let me get off track here. 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. 25 to 27 million Soviet citizens, including soldiers, died in the same period. 10 to 20 million Chinese died and when Japan was fucking raiding Japan, the massacre of Nanking. 4 to 7 million died in Ukraine. Entire like bloodlines raced, gone. In the death count for World War II, I think is about 80 million. I was more so, I'm right, 80 million. Okay, I don't know if that also includes like U.S. casualties and stuff like that. But, right, I'm going to say 80 million died during World War II. 20 million dead in Russia. 20 million dead in China. How come we didn't learn about this? How come the focus was on 6 million dead Jews and making sure everybody believes 6 million Jews died? I believe they died. I do. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm saying how come it was never pointed out and how come I never learned? Maybe I wasn't paying attention. But how come I never learned about the rape of Nanking? What the fuck was going on in the Soviet Union? 40 million dead in the same region, and you're talking about 6 million Jews? I get it. The Jewish population. Hitler killed about, for every 3 Jews, he killed 1. 1 out of 3 Jews dead. Worldwide. That's how much Hitler did. It was like 16 million. There's probably like, yeah, they're like 14, 16 million Jews worldwide. Why is the focus on U.S. history, right? You know how we learn about world history slightly, but then we constantly learn about U.S. history, but it's really just the same thing over and over again? Ghislaine Maxwell, her father, Robert Maxwell, who owns Macmillan and McGraw-Hill, which supplies the United States of America. You know, their education system was provided by a Mossad agent, a triple agent. The U.S. American education system was fed by Israelis. That's where the American got their education system from. The McGraw-Hill textbooks. That's why. They didn't want you to know about the 80 million total deaths. They want you to feel bad about the 6 million Jews that died, so that way they can continue to do whatever the fuck they want. That's why. 6 million Jews was the price that the rich Zionists, not Jews, it's not about Jews, it's about Zionists, it's about Zionism. This anti-Semitism, which isn't anti-Semitic because these people don't identify as Hebrew, they identify as Jewish. But if they want to play hot potato and start identifying as Hebrew, then fuck your Jewish identity if you want to identify as Hebrew. Which one do you want to choose? Which one do you want to choose? So, right, Robert Maxwell was the primary source of textbooks and scientific journals for the Western world, teaching us bullshit, propaganda, whatever the fuck it was. It's shit. It's not real. It's not. Watch my last video about Hitler, okay? The Evian Conference, the Havara Agreement, the I don't remember, the Suez Canal deal, the fucking UK signed with the Rockefellers. 2 world wars happening in less than 100 years. 2 world wars happening in less than 100 years. You don't think World War III is going to happen soon? I'm being serious. This is not me conspiracy. 2 world wars in less than 100 years. You don't think there's going to be a third one soon? It's not going to be about nukes. That's what they scare you with. It's going to be something much different. Much worse. Potentially. What was I talking about? Jesus Christ. Hold on, let me okay. Fucking I guess I could talk about Israel. I think that that was low-key a little side tangent. I think I could start talking about Israel now. So basically when we start talking about Israel, we have to understand what, origins. The origins. This is basically, let me give you the little rundown. 3,000 years ago in their little magic book, Yahweh said, that land, Jerusalem, is your land. That's your land. It was Jerusalem, okay? Jews were displaced, and Jews didn't have a single fucking place to go for thousands of years. In the Torah, the Old Testament, the goal, right, is like the Holy Land. In 1917, during World War I, and UK was getting their fucking ass handed to them by the Ottomans, UK broke a deal with Rockefeller saying, get the US involved now and you get the deed to Palestine. Right? We'll move right. We'll support. This is what they said. And we'll support a Jewish presence or something like that. We'll support a Jewish community. Sent them as to Palestine, right? Palestine is where all that shit is at, okay? That was in 1917. Here's the problem. The Jews, they actually liked where they were staying at. Across the world. Even though we're yeah, it's in the holy text, they preferred where they were at instead of moving to the fucking desert. And shocker. 1933. Was it 1933? It was the Evian. It was 1933? Or was it something? Okay, so in 1933 this happened. I think it may have been the Havara Agreement. I think it was probably the Evian meeting conference. Anyways, what is the Evian conference? Evian said 32 countries met over 9 days. They said, we don't want any Jews. The Congo took 100,000 Jewish refugees for a shitty reason. But 31 out of 32 countries said, we don't want Jews. In Hitler's mind, he got the green light because nobody wanted to take in Jewish refugees. And so he started pushing that agenda. 1938, I think, may have been the Havara Agreement. I hope my dates aren't off. The Havara Agreement. Jews didn't have a place to go. There was no area for Jews to reside. And so, in order to represent the Jewish community, there was Zionist federations, Zionist groups. So in 1938 for the Havar Agreement, the Zionist Federation of Germany, right? All the Jews who were living in Germany. Wait. Fuck. My dates are getting mixed up. It's all in the same time period. Around this time, right, Jews across the world are boycotting Nazi goods because they want to bankrupt, the Nazi regime. The Jews who are inside Germany, right, the Zionist Federation of Germany got together and met with Hitler to choose which Jews would be allowed to leave Germany prior to the war. Jews, 60,000 of the wealthiest Jewish families, they were picked. It was selective. Lawyers, doctors, carpenters. Fucking, if you had 1,000 euros, you had skills, your ass was able to go to Palestine. You were able to leave Germany. They met, and 60,000 Jewish families cashed their checks, bought German equipment, and took off to Palestine and got set up there. 31 countries said they wouldn't take any Jewish refugees. Hitler didn't want to kill the Jews at first. Hitler just wanted to get them the fuck out. Hitler famously said that he would ship the Jews out for free on luxury ships if the Allied powers were so heartbroken over the Jewish refugees. But nobody wanted to take them in. So Hitler is like, well, I literally can't deport them. Hitler literally couldn't deport the Jewish population because nobody would allow Jews to enter their country. Let me say that one more time. Hitler couldn't deport the Jewish population because no country in the world was willing to take them as refugees at the time. 60,000 wealthy families got out. Right, the Havar Agreement was signed when shit was starting to get much more worse for the Jewish community in Germany, because after Hitler got that fucking green light, bro, he fucking switched from deporting and kicking these guys out to fucking killing them all. Because in his mind, if nobody in the world wanted to take Jewish refugees, then he's doing them a favor by just getting fucking rid of them. Because he didn't want them. Why? Right, we heard of like Hitler blaming like the World War I loss on Jews. Catch this. UK was getting its ass whooped by the Ottoman Empire, which was being backed by Germany. UK called on Rockefeller. Rockefeller, heavy Jewish family ties. United States involved. Rockefeller got the deed to Palestine. Maybe not the deed, right? But he got the support. They've been wanting the Holy Land for 3,000 years. And for the first time since fucking BCE, in 1917, they finally got this much closer. They finally got that much closer. And so what happened? 1917, 1933, 1938, 1948. Look at these dates. 60,000 wealthy. These weren't Jews. These were Zionists. There is a difference, and this is what I see in the world, right? When people are saying Jew, 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 and anti-Semitic this and anti-Semitic that, and they're blaming the Jew, right? Jewish population. Now it's literally becoming anti-Jew. It's not anti-Semitism. It's not anti-Jew. It's anti-Zionism. It's anti-Zionist. It's the Zionists who are doing this shit. 60,000 of the wealthiest, powerful Zionist families in Germany left the rest of the Jewish population to pound sand. They fucking left them to die there. 6 million Jews was orchestrated and allowed to happen. Nobody, not one country got involved in World War II because of the Jewish genocide. None of them gave a fuck. All of them were anti-Semitic. Here's the thing, when you say anti-Semitic, the Jews don't even identify as Hebrew. They identify as Jewish. So now you have to create a new anti-word for them. Anti-Zionism. I don't have anything against Jews. Do I think they look kind of weird? Yeah. But I mean, it's like, hey, it's like, you know what I mean? It's not right when you hear Jews are in power, Jewish people run this, Jewish people run that. No, these aren't normal Jews. These are Zionists. There is a big difference in how the media is displaying both of these sides. There is a Jew and then there is a Zionist. You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist, but you can be a Jew and a Zionist. This is my theory. $6 million Jews were used as justification to return to the Holy Land. Prior to the war, Jews didn't want to go to the Holy Land, even if they could. They were comfortable with where they were at. They didn't want to leave. To the Zionists, that's no good. That's no bueno. No bueno. So, let me drink some water. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. I low-key forgot what I was talking about. Okay. This is my theory. Zionists of the most powerful families allowed 6 million Jews to be murdered, massacred, genocided. New vocabulary. And in doing so, created the perfect after-war setting to allow mass migration of Jews to Israel. 80 million people died in World War II. They are just a statistic. Like Stalin's quote. Hold on, let me pull it up. Joseph Stalin is often quoted as saying, "A single death is a tragedy. A million deaths is a statistic." 6 million Jews died for the excuse to return to the Holy Land, which was Jerusalem. The borders aren't defined. Why? Why aren't they defined? Because they want more. They always wanted more. The goal for 3,000 years was to return to the Holy Land, and they finally fucking did it. You think that they're gonna leave now? 80 million people died for Zionists. Who funds the war? The bankers. The decentralized international banks have been funding both sides of the war since the French Revolution. Hitler decimated the area, right? He fucking kicked all the Jews out, and he started printing his own money. That's how Germany got like that. Like that. Everybody else was in debt, but Germany somehow did all that shit. It's because he kicked out the fucking bankers and started printing his own money that wasn't charging interest. That's how he fucking turned the fucking country around. And he actually was winning. He was winning against the bankers. But he should have went for the UK. Let me emphasize this. Nobody cared about the Jews dying in World War II, let alone people knowing that it was happening. And the people who knew that it was happening, they didn't give a fuck because they voted to not want them in their country, bro. What was I saying? Now, do I have any proof of this claim? No, but it might start making more sense as I start talking about these other things that I'm going to talk about. So, understanding the Jews, and also how I mentioned Robert Maxwell earlier, right? Potentially a triple agent working for Mossad, the KGB, and MI16, whatever MI16 is. Mossad. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about Mossad. Let me find this shit. Where is it? What the fuck? Bruh. Hold on. Let me fucking find this shit. I'll be right back. Sorry, MI16 was a lie. I don't even know where I got that from. He was feeding a little bit to Mossad, a little bit to KGB, and a little bit to the CIA, Robert Maxwell, and then he disappeared on a boat in the middle of nowhere, right? So, Mossad means... What the fuck? Bro, okay, you gotta be trolling me right now. Where did I talk about... What the fuck? I thought I had the information about Mossad. I quite literally did. But like I can't find it anymore. Okay, let me see if I could try to remember this shit. Okay. So Mossad, their original like line, their one-liner it was something like, through deception, we will win. Like, we will win war. Through deception, we will win war. Okay? I wish I could find the exact quote that I had. And, Mossad is Israel's intelligence agency. Okay? And so Mossad was, the story behind Mossad is which I'm trying to fucking find, because I want to get the facts, and I don't want to spit like hippity hoopla. But the story that I heard found behind Mossad is, oh, it's because okay, I'm just fucking walking around in circles, bro. My fault. I'm sorry. I'm being retarded. Mossad, their original one-liner was like, through deception, and then something else, right? Through deception, thou shalt win, or whatever. And then they changed it because they didn't really like it, right? But the story of Masada, 900. This is the myth. This is the mythology. Okay. 960 Jews were pushed to the top of Masada, this mountain, Masada. Pretty sure Masada. They were being chased by the Roman legion. And so the Roman legion were starting to build a fucking ramp to the top of this mountain to kill them. The Jews saw this. In 613 laws that they have, they are not allowed to commit suicide. So this is what they did instead. They drew lots. They had one man. I think they had like 10 men. Each of those men would kill 10 people. And then the 10 men that were remaining, one man would kill all of them. And then that last guy killed himself. I don't know how I didn't ask that question. I didn't ask how the last dude killed himself, right? But this story was written by a Jew, a Roman Jewish historian who claims to have heard the story from like these women and children or whatever, and then they told him. Archaeologists have, said that they went up, right, Masada, and then they found, a little bit, but they didn't see any proof of 960 Jews. This is what I immediately thought, okay? Imagine you're the Roman leader of this legion, and you're building all this shit to go kill these Jews. And then you finally get up there, and then you see 960 dead bodies. You're going to burn them. You're going to burn the bodies. I'm willing to bet that the Germans fucking burned them. I'm willing to bet that the Romans burned those bodies. Potentially. But so the story of Masada, basically saying, it's like, there's no limits. There's no limits to what you'll do. The story, right, that is given motivation to the fucking IDF and to Mossad agents is the story of Mossad agents and IDF is the story of Masada. 960 Jews killed themselves to instead not be killed by the Romans that were approaching them. Oh my god, how far was I scrolled up, bro? Oh my god, bro, this is what I was looking for. I was looking in the wrong place. My fault. Let me actually give you the facts. Okay, so Mossad, okay? God damn, that's a big fucking name. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Anyways, Mossad, right? It's for the Institute for Intelligence and Special Tasks. This was their motto. By way of deception, thou shalt do war. Proverbs 24:6. And then they changed it to where there is no guidance, a nation falls. Their original motto for decades was, by way of deception, thou shalt do war. That is the motto for Mossad. And the story of Masada is the story of Masada. I'll give you the facts now that I got it. Said to take place in 73 AD, and a group of Jewish rebels called Zealots fled to a mountain fortress called Masada. The Roman 10th Legion surrounded them and started to build a ramp up the side of the mountain. When the Zealots realized the Romans were going to break through, they would rather die as free men than be Roman slaves. 10 men were chosen to kill everybody else. Okay, not 10 lots. 10 men were chosen to kill everybody else. And then one man killed the other 9. And then himself. And Masada is the national myth of modern Israel. And every Israeli soldier used to go to the top of that mountain and swear an oath that Masada shall not fall again. This is what they like to do, the Jews. They love to fucking stick it together. By telling every single one of your soldiers, intelligence agents, and fucking everybody that your national myth for modern Israel is that 960 Jews were chased to the top of the mountain and had no choice but to kill themselves because everybody hates them so much. That is what they tell their own culture, their own people. The world hates you, so you must stay together. Because everybody is against us, anything that we do to survive is just. It's a cornered rat mentality of Israel Samson's option of, if you want to come attack me, I may or may not have nukes, and I'll fucking kill all of you guys if you want to kill me. That is what, that's Israel. That's Israel's in a chokehold. JFK wanted to take nukes away from Israel, and then they killed him. Because if let alone the U.S. stops defending Israel. If Israel didn't have nukes, then they have no they have no end all option. It's a fucked mentality. It's fucked. And it's very interesting, dude. It really is. It's Oh wow. I didn't This is actually called Masada complex. It's a real term used in psychology and politics. When a group believes they are so special and so persecuted that they would rather burn the whole world down than lose their power. That is called the Masada complex. The Samson's option. Israel's unofficial nuclear strategy. If I go down, you all go down. Why is Israel have been complaining about Iran and everybody's fucking mother developing nuclear weapons? Because they have nuclear weapons. Israel has nuclear weapons. If Israel didn't have nuclear weapons, then they would be fucked. They would be fucked. And so, looping it back, the legend of Masada is that we are all victims who will die for our cause. Mossad will use deception to make sure the Jews never have to die like that again. And then the Jews will use victimhood to pursue aggressively pursue power and intelligence because of this mentality that they have, especially after World War II. Especially after World War II. Let me get rid of this fucking light for you guys. I wonder if that changes anything. Potentially. Did it work? Yeah, it's better. Oh my god. Low-key, I feel kind of sick. I low-key feel kind of sick. I've been talking for a fucking hour, bro. Can't even believe I'm sidetracked. I got this new book, Unit X. So it's about how the Pentagon and Silicon Valley are transforming the future of war. So it's two guys who are, have ties to the Pentagon, and then the Pentagon was like, hey, I need you guys to make our military stronger. That's what the book is about. I just got it yesterday. Let's check it out. Okay, let's continue. Okay. I just read this paragraph. Let me draw this in. Let me draw this in one more time, and then I'll probably can move on from Mossad. Because you know how everybody and their fucking mom talks about Mossad agents on TikTok and shit? Israel named their intelligence agency after a mass suicide. Israel named their intelligence agency Mossad after a mass Jewish suicide, after a mass Jewish genocide. Fuck. I've been talking about Hitler too much. God damn it. These people aren't playing a normal game. Again, these aren't Jews. These are Zionists. These are Zionists, not Jews. These people are not playing the same game. They are not following the same rules as you and I. They do not live life the same way you and I live life. At all. They do not. It's an existential game. Okay? When you deal with someone who has a Masada complex, you're dealing with somebody who has a vow. These people don't care about rules, international law, bullshit conventions. They don't give a fuck. Why? Because in their minds, they are the Jews on top of that mountain. And everybody else is the Roman Empire coming to get them. And so through deception, thou shalt do war. And you shall swear that this will never happen again. You are raised that way. The moment you're born, you don't leave that Jewish community. They fucking trauma bond their fucking people with these stories. And the story of Masada might not be real, but hey, who knows? Right? It might be. "960 Jews, they killed themselves." And so when it comes to Judaism, it's not about the spirit of the law. It is about the letter of the law. In Judaism, you have the Kabbalah, which is the mystic interpretation of the Old Testament, I think. You have the Torah, which is the Old Testament. Wait, Torah? It's not the Torah. It's the Tanakh. It's the Tanakh. How long have I been saying Torah? What is going on in my mind? What is the Torah? I thought the Torah is Muslim. No. I'm wrong. The Torah is Jew. It's the first 5 books. What is the Tanakh? Tanakh. The Tanakh. It's just the whole fucking Bible? Oh, okay. I see. The Torah is the first 5 books. The Tanakh is just a whole fucking book. And then you got the fucking... And then you got... What the fuck am I talking about? And then you got the fucking Talmud. Okay. The Talmud, when you're in Judaism, okay, the newbies, the plebeians, the average lower Jew studies the fucking Tanakh. Maybe they'll read a little bit of the Talmud and maybe the Kabbalah, just a little bit. the fucking Jewish lawyers, these fucking rabbis, right? The Talmud are the real thoughts. The Talmud dictates what a Jew can do to the letter. You cannot commit suicide, but you can have somebody else kill you. It's not suicide though, because you didn't kill yourself. And they have they have shit about like kids in there. Look, let me search this up. Fucking Talmud. Let's see. I'm just gonna search up kids. Oh, okay, hold on. Kid. Fucking kids. Talmud. Can I just get the fucking... Where's this shit at? I want to see if this shit is facts. Yo, okay. I can't find this. Hold on. Let me read this. What am I even fucking reading? So right now, I searched up. This is exactly what I searched up. I searched up Talmud kid consent, and I clicked. I clicked on like one of the fucking... Where the fuck is the text at? These motherfuckers want to hide their shit. So I feel like I should pause the video so that way I just don't make it longer.
What? What? Okay, so let me tell you about what I've been fucking reading. So it's like, this is kind of fucking nuts a little bit, dude. Let me read this shit out. Let me read this to you. I just searched this shit up, bro. You can search this up too. I knew this shit was on there. Okay, hold on. I got the full text. So this is the text. When a grown-up man has had intercourse with a little girl, or when a small boy has intercourse with a grown-up woman, or when a girl was accidentally injured by a piece of wood, their kethbua, I don't know what the fuck that is 200. So according to blah blah blah. This so basically, okay, so this is what it means. When a grown up man has intercourse with a little girl, it is nothing. For when the girl is less than this, it is as if one puts the finger into the eye. But when a small boy has intercourse with a grown up woman, he makes her as a girl who is injured by a piece of wood. And with regard to the case of a girl injured by a piece of wood itself. So to be injured by a piece of wood, it's basically saying like the hymen breaks. And so this, God, why am I getting so far off track? I didn't even search up the Talmud. I guess it was just an example. But I mean, like, I don't want to like get on here and like spew false but like I'm reading this, and so it's basically these are what so okay, I'm reading this. So right, these women being virgins is very important to the Jews. And so it says right here, a woman captive and a woman slave who have been redeemed, converted, or free when they were less than 3 years old, when they were less than 3 years and 1 day old, there is with regard to them the claim of virginity. So what they believe in the Talmud is that if the little girl is younger than 3 years and 1 day, that if the hymen of if a girl younger than 3 is broken, that it literally grows back, is what these people believed. Right here. If they had sexual intercourse before they were 3 years and 1 day old, the hymen would grow again and they would be virgins. Rabbi Dr. Deities. And then we see here, what the fuck? That's nuts. What the fuck? Yo. Yo, let me tell you this, bro. It says right here, okay, how here in America, right, the younger the girl is you have sex, the more condemned you are. It's the reverse for the Talmud. The younger the girl is, there's no guilt, okay, but the older she is, hey, you know, you can't really... Let me read this. In modern America, sex between an adult and a child is condemned in proportion to the youth of the child. Talmudic law works on the reverse scale. Sex with younger children is less significant than sex with older children. Scripture states thus, "Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination." Leviticus 18:22. The Old Testament prohibits a man, they say lying, but it means sex. The Old Testament prohibits a man having sex with a man. The reason why I started talking about the Talmud is because when I said letter is the law, not spirit of the text, letter of the text. Exactly as it is said. That's how they do this. Exactly as it was said. Okay? Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is an abomination. Okay? That's what Leviticus 18:22. The Old Testament prohibits a man lying with a man. But notice, the Old Testament does not prohibit a man lying with a boy. In the Bible, it says a man can't have sex with another man, but it didn't say that a man can't have sex with a boy. Thus, the Talmud sages arrive at their position on pedestry. In the following, bestiality said to be committed naturally. What? What does beast mean? Where are they getting beast from? Okay, let me just read this. In the following, bestiality, that's what it is? What the fuck? In the following, bestiality said to be committed naturally when a man uses the vaginal passage of the beast, and unnaturally when a man uses the anal passage of the beast. The sages make a similar distinction for the couplings of woman with a beast. Pedestry, Rabbi said, pedestry with a child below 9 years of age is not deemed as pedestry with a child with a child above that. Samuel said pedestry with a child below 3 years is not treated as with a child above that. What? Rab maintains that only he who is able to engage in sexual intercourse may, as a passive subject of pedestry, throw guilt upon the active offender, whilst he who is unable to engage in sexual intercourse cannot be a passive subject of pedestry. And thou shalt not lie. What the fuck? What is pedestry? Liable to punishment. I don't know why they were talking about bestiality. It says rabbi makes 9 years the minimum, but if one committed sodomy with a child of lesser age, no guilt is incurred. Samuel makes 3 the minimum, 9 the maximum. At 9 years, a male attains sexual matureness. Leviticus 22. Thus the point of comparison, sexual matureness of women, which is reached at the age of 3. A male aged 9 years and a day who commits, etc. There are thus 3 distinct clauses in this. What the fuck? I gotta yo. What the fuck did I just read, yo? I deadass. I don't even know. Yo. So what I've read, bro, in the Talmud of this fucking website, Israelelect.com, the maximum age you can have sex with a child is 9 years. Because if you have sex with a child that's older than 9 years, then that's just looked down upon. But if you have, because by the time that they're 9, it's deemed as mankind or fucking womankind. Yeah, womankind, mankind, and with womankind. It's so fucking dark in here, bro. The maximum is 9 years old and the lowest is 3. To have 0 guilt incurred when it comes to fucking incestory, and just fucking. But if one committed sodomy with a child of lesser age, no guilt is incurred. 9 years and a day is the minimum age of the passive partner for the adult to be liable. So, passive, I guess what they mean by so I guess there's 2 groups during sex that they label. So there's the active and then there's the passive. So I'm assuming that the active would be the one who's doing the pounding, and then the passive is the one who's getting pounded.
So basically, if you have sex with a child who is below 9, then you are like guilt free, because in the Bible it doesn't say that you can't do that. So that's why they do that. And they also believe that little girls, that if they call it wood, they call it injured by a piece of wood. That's what they call it. So when a girl is injured by a piece of wood and she is younger than 3 years and 1 day, then they believe that the hymen will come back and that she is a virgin. Their whole thing is virginity, 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 virginity. Why would this be written in there? I mean, it's basically saying, well, we can have sex with infants because, like, the hymen's just going to grow back, so it's fine, and, like, God isn't going to punish us. I need to read more of this shit. So, yeah, that's one thing. So that was our little side quest for about 20, 30 minutes, almost. What the fuck? Why do I talk so much? Okay, so we're getting back into it. Jesus Christ, bro. What am I even talking about, bro? I actually have no fucking idea. So, now that we've talked about the Talmud, and then we've talked about Mossad, and then I've talked a little bit about Judaism, and then I talked a little bit about Hitler. And so now I'm going to move to the meat and potatoes of what I originally wanted to talk about before I started reading the shit on the Talmud page. This has to do with religion. So, this is where you want to start, taking your notes. Let's go back to the land of Canaan, where, Canaanites lived. In the land of Canaan, it was split into 70 nations. Each nation having one God. Each nation had one God. Oh, one nation under God. So, there are 4 important figures. Al. E-Al. E-Al. Literally, Al. Al. Like Emmanuel. Al. This was Israel. It's suffering. That stands for suffering with Al. So Al is God. El in the fucking Canaan pantheon, there was the God who was. This is how he's described: a wise old man who loves the world, who has a white beard and sits on his throne in the sky. That is Al. Israel. Emmanuel. Okay, that E-L part, that stands for God. E-L, Al, had a wife, Asherah. Al and Asherah had 70 kids. I think, yeah, 70 kids. Should be fucking. I don't know if the number of 70 also includes Al and Ashura and Ashura, but you know, it's neither here or there right now. Okay. And so there was Al, Ashura, Baal, and Yahweh. Israel, everybody was a Canaanite. The Canaanites who were living in Israel decided to become Israelites. And this is what they did. Remember, through deception, thou shalt do war. The Israelites took Yahweh. Let me search. Hold on. Let me search this. I gotta get my facts right. So, okay. Yahweh, well, let me not blind y'all. Yahweh was a war god. Yahweh is a war god. Baal is a storm god. Al is the father of all. And Asherah, I think that's the name, is the mother. The Israelites decided that they were over El, and they wanted, because the Israelites believed that El was like a god for everybody, and they didn't want that. And so this is what they did. They combined El, Asherah, Baal, and Yahweh into one deity. Why? Because Yahweh is the god of war. Baal is the storm god, in which they sacrifice to the rain to come down. And then the father, Al. And so, right, going from polytheistic to monotheistic. Because the Jews wanted okay, so it was about 600 to 700 BCE in which the priests of Judah decided to take the attributes from the father Al, the power of the brother Baal, and full port them into Yahweh. turning all the other gods into demons or angels, or just turning them into false idols. So the Israelites created this one God from four gods. And why do I say four? Think about the Holy Spirit. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The Father, El. The Sons, Baal and Yahweh. And the Mother, the Holy Spirit. The Holy Trinity, that word, or the Holy Spirit, when you translate it into Hebrew, it's a feminine word. So, even though they didn't straight say Asherah, the mother, they still imported her. Yahweh, as we are told to believe, right, in the Bible, Yahweh, that you are told in the Bible, is not the God you are told you are worshiping. You are worshiping Baal. While you're worshiping four different gods. That's what when you worship Yahweh, and the way that you are perceiving Yahweh, you are worshiping four gods. God saying, "Oh, my God, my God, my God." Okay, the word God, fuck that. We don't want that shit. Be creative and come up with a fucking name for your God, okay? At least do that. At least do that instead of saying, like, "Oh, Jesus and the Holy Father," and blah, 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 blah. Come up with a fucking name, okay? Because I'm giving you the fucking names now. Yahweh, okay, in the little Bible, in the Bible, is not the one God, the one monotheistic God, right? That's supposed to exist. That's all powerful and all everything, It's that. So no. This is what potentially it could mean, right? In the New Testament. That God is El. And if you were to worship God, you are to worship El, which is, it's a Canaanite deity. If you worship El, that means you are not a Christian. The Jews are like the Zionists, right? Merged these deities together, and because it was a good what the fuck was I talking about? Okay, look, let me read this. Okay. You know how, right, then they created Baal, and then Moses, the fighting against like Baal sacrifice, like how you hear about it, or Moloch or whatever. These Canaanites, that was their thing, bro. You had 70 nations sacrificing people. And then the Israelites said, "No, we don't want 70 nations because that's going to break us all up. We want one God." And so Baal, in Canaanite myth, Baal was the one who rode the clouds and controlled the rain.
If you look at Psalms 29 or Psalm 68, the Bible describes Yahweh riding on clouds. That was Baal's flow. That's Baal's flow in the clouds. Baal sends rain down. So you sacrifice for the rain to come down. Yahweh is the God of war. Israel's took El, the God, because he is everything. And they created this hybrid God and told everybody else that it is the first and it is the last. The idea of the Bible and religion entirely is we're slowly getting there, but it's all fake. It is all a lie sold to you so that way you would stay docile. Hold on. This is facts. Okay? This is facts. The God of the Old Testament is not the same God in the New Testament. Because the New Testament was added after Jesus, when Jesus started making people Christians. If Jesus never did what Jesus did, there would be no New Testament. It would just be the Old Testament. The Israelites, the Jews, they do not recognize Jesus as the Son of God. Because the God to the Jews in their Old Testament is 4 Canaanite deities. So, the same God that is worshipped in Judaism is Baal. The statue that they were sacrificing children to for rain to come down. And now that they've merged a war god and a storm god into one, now when they sacrifice for power and wealth. That is what they sacrifice for. Because in the Old Testament, there is no afterlife. It's called Sheol. And in the Old Testament, it is said that there's no heaven, there's no hell. Sheol is where everybody goes when they die to sleep forever. That is what is said in the Old Testament. There is no heaven, there is no hell, there's no pearly gates, there's no devil with a pitchfork that is in the Old Testament. That doesn't exist. In Judaism, they believe that this life is their only life. There's no heaven. So what do they do instead? You convince millions worldwide, more than millions, billions, and convince these people that there is an afterlife, that there is a heaven waiting for them, that if they are a good person on earth and they don't try to rise to power, they don't try to make wealth, they don't try to do this shit, ABC, then they will be rewarded in the afterlife. And if they don't listen to these rules, then you will go to hell. Judaism, they don't believe in heaven or hell. They believe in Sheol, which is a black place everybody goes to sleep. Not torture, not hell, not absence of God. It's a place that everybody goes when they sleep. In the New Testament, they sold you the idea of heaven and hell to get you to ignore what the Jewish population was doing. Who created this? It was the Israelites that created this. It all started with the Jewish population. They created the Old Testament from merging 4 Canaanite deities into one God, convinced the entire world that God exists and will send you to heaven and hell if you don't listen to the rules. If you don't listen to the rules exactly, you will go to hell. In Judaism, they have 613 laws that they have to follow. So to them, saying, you need to follow all these rules to be a good Christian. Bro, it's, it ain't no thing. I write how a lot of people, look at the Bible, and it's like, what, you should, the rules, you shouldn't listen to, the book, and, the book, it's just open up to interpretation and stuff like that. Bro, to the Old Testament, that fucking book is not open to fucking interpretation, bro. Whatever it says on there, it simply is. I guess open to interpretation, that they saw the line of, do not sleep with men, you sleep with women. And then the Jews said, wait, it didn't say we can't sleep with children. Let's go! You know what I mean? And, okay. What else am I going to say here? How are we going to get into Baphomet? Okay. Well, no, I don't think I should talk about Baphomet yet. So, what? No shot. I might have been lying this whole time, bro. Okay, so this is my question, okay? There was the father, El. There was Baal, Yahweh, and Asherah. Holy Trinity, there's 3. They took the name Yahweh and ran with it. But I'm curious to know that if Yahweh was actually used for as a war deity, here's the thing, is the Israelites, when they created this thing, they wanted all of that. The land of Canaan, they wanted all that shit. Give me that shit. Give me that shit. That's what they wanted. So, of course, they had to get the war god out of here and be like, bro, we will sacrifice our fucking nuts to you, bro, if you fucking get this land for us. So the reason why I say this is because as I read this, one, the Father, El, the original source of authority in creation. Two, the Son, Jesus slash Baal. Baal was the son of El, who died and rose again in the Canaanite cycle, which is the storm cycle because he's the storm god. And the church mapped Jesus onto the son role to make it feel natural to people. And the Holy Spirit, the mother, Asherah, even though the priest deleted the name of the wife, they made that feminine comforting energy that's supposed to be Asherah into the Holy Spirit. And so you got a Canaanite pantheon that is worshipped by millions worldwide, opening up their fucking Bible and shit, thinking that they're gonna go to heaven. Heaven to who? To what God brings you? What God brings you to heaven? That's this. These are my questions. What God brings you to heaven now? I don't know. What God brings you to heaven? Because he might not exist. Okay. It's a fucking it's illusion of monotheism. You got fucking Yahweh pulling you towards your tribe, jealous ass God talking about don't worship nobody else. Right? Tribalism and war. Baal pulls you towards material success in nature, and El pulls you towards universal truth. And so within these texts, right, you can say Jesus was because then you could also step away from Gnostic texts at the same time. But I mean, it's still a question of who was Jesus. You know what I mean? Still, I got more questions to ask. The more that I'm talking about this. Let me tell you more about their afterlife, okay? So the Jewish afterlife. The Old Testament almost never mentions an afterlife. Judaism is a religion of doing, not going. The 613 laws aren't there to get them into heaven. They're there to keep them in their little hillbilly circle alive and prosperous on earth. Sheol. They didn't believe in hell with the fire or heaven with harps. They believed in Sheol, a dark, silent place where everybody goes, good or bad, to sleep forever. Because Jews don't have a heaven to wait for, they are obsessed with winning right now. If this life is all you have, then you better own the fucking banks, the land, and the fucking God. These people don't believe in an afterlife. Good, whether you were a good person or you were a bad person, you go to the same place to sleep forever with everybody else. That is what they believe in the Old Testament. So now, if the Old Testament and the New Testament are needed for these Christians, but in the Old Testament, they don't believe, right? Judaism, who created the whole book, don't believe in heaven. They sold after Jesus and he got real fucking popular, they had to adjust. And so then they sold the world the idea of an all-powerful God that promised them Israel 3,000 years ago. It's the biggest con. It's probably the biggest fucking con ever. Unless everything is a simulation, this is one of the biggest fucking cons, I believe. It's, so to them, the afterlife is their legacy and their bloodline. As long as their children own the land, you live forever through them. Your lineage, your legacy. Hold on, I fucking... Okay, look, let me also tell you something. They don't believe in an afterlife, but they're selling you an afterlife. And then I asked, if they don't believe in hell, why is Jesus condemned to burning in his excrement? They put that in the Talmud. The Talmud are the real thoughts about the Old Testament. The Old Testament is just there. The Talmud is what the Jews think what they actually think about in regards to the Old Testament. And then the Kabbalah is the mystic interpretation of the Old Testament. And so the same people who sold you the all-loving God rejects Jesus, and despite not believing in a hell, they damned him to boiling in feces for eternity. And so they put it in the Talmud. If I can get the masses to believe that they will be rewarded in the next life, they won't fight me for the resources in this life. By focusing on their little hillbilly circle, breeding, legacy, and land, they ensure that their company, the Zionistic tribe, stays in power for 3,000 years. Because these people aren't waiting for a post-date check in heaven, because they're cashing their checks every day at the fucking bank. These people don't give a fuck about you. They're fucking little girls. You think they care about you? In the Talmud, they talk about... Oh my god. They talk about having sex with little girls who are fucking younger than 9 years old, who are younger than 3 years old. And these people are in the banks, they're in the government, they're fucking... They all cut the tips of their dicks off. They all fucking... Look, it's not the Zionists Sorry, it's not the Jews who are a problem. It's the Zionists who are a problem. Jewish people are not the problem despite their Talmud. It's the Zionistic people who are the problem. They play with millions of lives. They play with generations of lives. 6 million Jews died so that way they can go back to fucking Jerusalem. They sacrificed 6 million Jews to get to their fucking promised land. What do you think they're going to do to you? You think they care about you? You're goyim. You're less than a dog. They won't shake your hand. They won't say hi to you. They don't want anything to do with you. They want nothing to do with you. Goyim. Fucking goy. Goy boy. Fucking goy boy. That's what you are. That's what we all are to them. And so it's like, okay, goyim is just a non-Jew. Now what makes somebody a Jew? Their mother has to be a Jew. If your mother is Jewish, then you are a Jew. Oh, yeah. There's no fucking difference, bro. There's no fucking difference. Their fucking DNA cycle got fucked up a long time ago. The moment they stopped breeding with each other, it's wraps. It's wraps. That's why they changed it to the mother only. Because they needed to fucking cope with the fucking idea of that they have to be God's chosen people. They have to be. There's no possible way that they can live their life and not be God's chosen people, because all of them are interbred. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them. A lot of them. And so no other religion does this, by the way. No other religions do this. Judaism is the only religion that does this type of shit. Judaism is an exclusionary system. It's not about bringing you in, it's about keeping you out so that way they can maintain their circle. Because nobody liked Jews. So Jews can only trust each other through this generational trauma. That's why. If these people aren't trauma bonded, they aren't a Jew. What makes them a Jew is that the people around them say that they're a Jew. That it's nothing more than a name they call themselves. It's nothing more than a name they call themselves. Israel, the Star of David, the Star of Raphan, that is the fucking... That's the fucking cube of Saturn. And then they want to sell it. They want to sell it to you, and they want to sell it to you as a pentagram, as demonic, as you're gonna sell the Star of David in America as a pentagram, and you're gonna fly it on your flag. It's the exact same thing like the Nazi Party. It's the exact same thing. The swastika stood for peace. It still stood for peace when the Nazis were using it. They were just killing Jews. The Star of David is not the Star of David. It's a cube of Saturn. 666. It's a pentagram. That's what they say. It's the fucking star. It's the fucking Star of Saturn, bro. Sorry if you could hear the voices outside.
Okay, the point that I hopefully have instilled in you over the last 2 hours is that everything that you've ever been taught is a lie. Nothing around you is real. Don't trust anybody. And you need to start fucking thinking for yourself. Everybody's lying to you. Okay? Everybody's lying to you. Holy shit, what more do I have to say? Oh no, okay, I've reached the bottom. I've reached the bottom. Judaism. Actually, not Judaism. Okay. This is what you need to understand. And you really need to believe this. And I know it's probably hard to hear, but like you need to go and look this stuff up for yourself. You need to go find this shit for yourself. You need to ask questions. You need to think about what they're telling you. You need to go back and learn history, bro. You gotta learn history. You gotta find out what these people are fucking talking about. What's going on. Jews aren't special, bro. They are not God's chosen people. They are not God's chosen people. Okay? After everything that we've discussed here, it's all a scam. It's all a conspiracy for the fucking. Since the day Israelites launched Yahweh, they've been kicked out of the fucking Holy Land, and they finally got it back in 1948, bro. They haven't even been in Israel for 100 years. They haven't been in Israel. They haven't been to the Holy Land. It hasn't even been 100 years. Their ass has been looking for that shit for fucking like 4,000, bro. 4,000 years of straight dedication, interbreeding, fucking everybody else over. And they finally got the land. What the fuck do you think they're gonna do now? 2 world wars in less than a century. That third one's coming pretty fucking soon. Debt's gonna keep climbing. Debt's gonna keep climbing. Debt's gonna keep climbing. Shit's gonna crash. They're gonna open up HQ in Israel and rebuild that fucking temple that keeps getting bombed. Okay, these people, Zionists, are the Antichrist. They are the formation of the Antichrist. Zionists, not Jews. I'm not calling Jews Zionists. You don't have to be a Jew and a Zionist. You don't have to be a Jew. I can be. I'm not Jewish. I could be a Zionist. I'm not. But these fucking these people crafted a religion and sold it to you so that way you can shut the fuck up and die. That's why. When you say, "Oh, my grandpa and my grandma are in heaven. Oh, and my baby's looking down at me. And oh my God, no. No, bro. It's not real. Maybe if you believe in it hard enough, hey, maybe your soul will project into a dimension that is what that paradise. But bro, even if the Bible was 100% real, your ass ain't going to heaven, boy. Stop playing. Stop. You know your motherfucking grandpa and T.O. and grandma ain't in heaven, boy. What the fuck is you talking? Think about that. Let's start thinking about that right now, about heaven and hell. Okay? If you don't follow the Bible, you're going to hell. I guarantee 90% of Christians ain't even read at least the Old Testament. They ain't even fucking read that shit. I'm gonna search it up. Let me search this shit up. What is the world percentage of people have read the entire Bible? Let's see. What is the world percentage? I may be wrong. I might have to bite my tongue. So this is based off data 2024 to 2026. Worldwide, less than 30% of Christians globally have read the entire Bible. Between 11 and 20% of Americans have read the Bible from cover to cover at least once. Only about 9 to 11% of people read it every day. And interestingly enough, atheists and agnostics often score higher on Bible literacy tests than many regular churchgoers because they tend to read it as a historical document rather than just listening to the best hits from a pastor. $80 to 90% of the population hasn't read the fucking Bible. And you talking about going to heaven? Have you even cracked that bitch open? I bet you just wrote your name on the front of it, huh? Your name here? Come on, bro. I'm going to be honest. If I died right now and heaven and hell existed, my ass would probably go to hell, bro. I'd bet on a fucking shooting star that I go up there, but he'd probably hit me with like that Panic at the Disco music video, bro. Hit me, I'm up at the pearly gates. Oh my god! And then I get hit with the trap door, bro. That's the type of shit that would happen to me, to be honest. It's just because I never repented. I don't repent. I haven't repented. I haven't gone to confession. I don't go to church. I don't read the Bible. I want to read these texts. I do, and I will. But I don't. So I have no chance of getting into heaven. I'm actually willing to say that 80 to 90% of the world population isn't getting into heaven, bro. Like, think about it. You got this big ass fucking book that's got like, let me show you something, bro. This came to my fucking mind, bro. Let me show you this. I don't know if I could actually reach up here though. Oh, fuck. Hold on. Let me actually get this right now. Let me get this. Oy. Ah, shit. I can't fucking reach that. God damn it. Why is that so far away? How am I going to get up there? Oy. I probably... Fuck. I don't think I can, bro. Okay, there we go. I'm the goat. I'm the goat. Ooh, got this big ass bookshelf up here. Oh my god. What the fuck? Oh. Let me show you something interesting. Let me show you, Goober, something interesting here. This is the Holy Bible. This is the Bible. Check this out. see that? The New Testament, right? The New Testament, right? This is the Old Testament. This is the New Testament. Let me show you that one more time. This is the Old Testament. This. Oh shit. I don't want to rip it. This is the New Testament. You can see it right there. Right there. Look at that. You see that? And you're saying that shit's real? And you're saying, "Oh, you're going to heaven, right? You're going to heaven, right?" This little slice of this book is telling you that you're going to heaven? Oh, good for you. Good for you. Let me get the number on that for you really quick. 988. Let me subtract, a couple pages, right? Let's say, okay, 1, 2. No, that actually is straight up. It's actually 986 pages. Because you got the preface. And so, let me get the exact numbers for you because I can't do math properly. Okay. Subtracting this shit. Oh fuck. Hold on, let me get the count for you guys. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I got the page count number. Now I remember this same thought that I'm bringing up to you now came to my mind many months ago. And I was like, if the Old Testament is in Judaism, Christianity and Judaism are separate, then what the fuck is Jewish texts doing in a Christian Bible? Those were my thoughts many months ago. Fuck, I gotta turn these lights back on. This is the Holy Bible. Right here. Got the little gold on that shit. I got a little bit of markings. Okay, I got a little bit of markings. The Old Testament in my book is 986 pages long. That's the Old Testament. The New Testament is 352 pages. The Old Testament is nearly triple the size of the New Testament that's in my book right now. They totally didn't just type up 300 and fucking 400 pages. They totally didn't just type 400 pages and said, fuck it. Make up a story. It doesn't really matter to us because we only care about the Old Testament. They made the New Testament to get you to believe the shit that they were selling. And it worked. And you're not going to believe anything else because you don't want to. This might have made me uncomfortable a long time ago of like, what? Blah, blah. I don't know. Honestly, I couldn't tell you, bro. My mind's been gone for a long time. My mind has been gone it's been over a year now, to be honest. It's a little over a year since I kind of went cuckoo. I kind of went cuckoo like a year ago. It shit fucks you up, bro. It fucks you up. It's not the shit that I'm talking about and like learning about the shit that I'm learning about and the shit that I did learn about, it's not for the weak, bro. It is not for the weak. Searching for the truth is not for the weak. It's not. Can I fucking get a good color? Keep that. It's just the same. It's just the same way that I had it. What the fuck? What's a good one? Fuck it. Purple. Look, this is another long fucking video. I know I've gone on different tangents, but this is shit that I've learned about today, right? It's 2:27. I'm posting this today. I've learned about this stuff today, and then I came on here and talked about it. And so what is the point of this video? Just to talk about the shit that I've learned and just the way that I talk about it. It's a long fucking video, bro. It's just me talking, bro. You could just put this shit on in the background. Fuck, bro. Okay. I'm done. You ever get like the roof of your mouth gets like itchy, and so you kind of like it like you move your tongue back and forth, and like it like itches like the roof of your mouth. I don't know, like you do this specific motion. That's like what I'm doing. It's like you're licking the roof of your mouth. It's I don't know. I don't even know what causes that feeling. So the overview of what was talked about today: Judaism, Hitler, Jews, Canaanite gods, and a few side tangents. Why the fuck do I sit and talk for so fucking long? Somebody please tell me that. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.